Have you ever met someone so confident they argue with reality itself? Wait till you hear about the American tourist who demanded a GPS that drives on the right side of the road in New Zealand, or the woman in Rome who thought the Colosseum was built after Jesus and called it insensitive. These are the funniest, most jaw-dropping stories of Americans abroad, where culture shock meets comedy gold. Stick around, because each story gets even crazier, and by the end, you'll either laugh till your sides hurt or double-check your passport before your next trip. Drop a comment with the wildest tourist moment you've ever seen. Hit that like button if you love hilarious travel stories. And subscribe for more unbelievable culture shock moments every week. I was working behind the counter of a car rental agency in Auckland, New Zealand, when a red-faced American tourist marched up, clutching his GPS like it had personally betrayed him. "My GPS is broken," he barked. "It keeps telling me to drive on the left side of the road. I need one that works properly, you know, the American way." I blinked, unsure if he was joking. Then I gently explained that in New Zealand, everyone drives on the left. It wasn't his GPS that was wrong, it was just how our roads work. He froze, his expression a mix of disbelief and outrage. "Wait, you mean the whole country drives that way? On purpose?" He looked around as though expecting hidden cameras. "That's insane! That's dangerous! No wonder your accident rate's probably sky high. I can't drive in a place like this. Give me a full refund before I die out there." He stormed off, muttering something about backward countries, leaving me to quietly wonder how he managed to survive international travel in the first place. I was leading a guided tour through the Colosseum in Rome, explaining the history of gladiators and the engineering marvel of the arena, when an American woman raised her hand, her tone as innocent as a child's. "This is fascinating," she said, "but was this built before or after Jesus? Because if it was after, that's kinda tone-deaf, right? I mean, Christians were fed to lions here. The Romans should have known better." For a second, I thought she was joking. But no, her expression was completely serious. I took a deep breath and began carefully explaining that the Colosseum was constructed decades after Jesus' lifetime, during the height of the Roman Empire, long before Christianity had spread widely. She nodded slowly, like she was processing a great revelation, then whispered to her husband, "They really should put that in the brochure." I just smiled weakly, silently thanking the ancient gods for patience. I was working at a small independent bookstore in London one afternoon when a clearly frustrated American customer stomped up to the register holding a copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. "Excuse me," he said sternly, "do you have the real version of this book? This one's got the wrong title. It's supposed to be The Sorcerer's Stone. It's like you're selling a cheap British copy of the American original." For a moment, I wasn't sure if he was serious. Then I explained that this was actually the original British version, and the title had been changed for the American market because publishers thought philosopher sounded too intellectual for children. He looked at me like I'd just told him Hogwarts wasn't real. "That makes no sense," he said flatly. "Everyone knows the American version came first." I just smiled and bagged his book, too tired to debate international publishing history. Working at a currency exchange booth in Toronto's airport, I once served an American man who slid a crisp $100 bill under the glass and said, "I'd like that in your money, please." I exchanged it and handed him the Canadian equivalent minus the small commission fee. He counted the colorful bills, frowned, and said sympathetically, "Wow, you guys must really be struggling. I give you $100 and this is all I get back? Rough economy, huh? Don't worry, America will help you out eventually." He genuinely thought the exchange rate was an indicator of national poverty. I smiled politely while fighting the urge to explain global currency valuation to him, not that it would have helped. My friend works as a bartender at a luxury resort in the Bahamas, a place where American tourists flock year-round expecting the full tropical fantasy experience. One afternoon, a man confidently ordered a Bahama Mama. My friend mixed the traditional pink cocktail and slid it across the bar with a smile. The man took one sip and grimaced like he'd swallowed lemon juice. "This isn't right," he complained. "I had one at TGI Fridays back home in Cleveland, and it was bright blue with an umbrella and a light-up straw. Yours is just pink. Can you make it the way they do in America? They perfected it there." My friend just nodded, probably imagining the look on the face of the first Bahamian who ever invented the drink. He later told me, the man was standing in the birthplace of the cocktail and still thought Cleveland knew better. I was part of a guided tour at the Normandy American Cemetery, a place of silence, reverence, and deep history. Everyone stood solemnly during the playing of taps, heads bowed. And then, out of nowhere, one man's voice broke the stillness. "Hey guys," he whispered loudly into his phone camera. "I'm here at D-Day. Super emotional, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More history vlogs coming soon." The guide's jaw clenched, and a few veterans in the group gave him looks that could have frozen the English Channel. I don't think I've ever seen a French guide go from heartbreak to fury so fast. When an American family moved into the apartment above me in Berlin, I didn't think much of it at first, until the father knocked on my door one Friday evening, grinning ear to ear. "Hey neighbor," he said brightly. "Just letting you know, we're doing a gender reveal party this Saturday. We'll be setting off some colored smoke and a few fireworks from the balcony. Should be quick." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Fireworks? From a third-floor balcony? In a crowded residential area? I tried to explain as politely as possible that not only was that dangerous, but it was also extremely illegal in Berlin. He looked genuinely confused. "Really? Back home, we do it all the time. What's the worst that could happen?" I didn't have the heart to describe how easily a spark could turn our building into a bonfire. I work in the call center of a major European train company. One day, an American man phoned in, absolutely furious because he'd missed his train from Paris to Geneva by about 10 minutes. He wasn't calling to reschedule. He was demanding that we make the train come back. "In the US," he said confidently, "if you miss a connecting flight, they hold the plane for you. It's just good customer service. You people need to call the driver and tell him to turn around. I'm a paying customer." I calmly explained that our trains run on strict schedules and cannot simply reverse across a national border because one passenger overslept. He hung up after calling us unprofessional. I had to mute my microphone because I couldn't stop laughing. My cousin, who works as a doctor in a public hospital in Madrid, once treated an American tourist who'd come in with a minor cut on his arm. She cleaned it up, applied a bandage, and told him he could leave. He just sat there, confused. "Wait, where do I pay? Who do I talk to about my insurance?" She smiled and explained that emergency care for small injuries was covered by Spain's healthcare system. No bills, no paperwork. The man frowned, suspicious. "That can't be right. Nothing's free. What's the catch? Are you going to send me a surprise bill later?" He refused to leave until she printed him a detailed receipt for €0. During a traditional Japanese tea ceremony, the room was perfectly quiet, the air thick with calm respect and the faint aroma of matcha. Everyone was seated in silence, absorbing the moment. Everyone, that is, except one American tourist who couldn't help himself. "So," he asked the tea master cheerfully, "how long you been doing this? Is it a full-time job? You get benefits and stuff." The tea master smiled serenely but said nothing, as is customary. The man shifted awkwardly, then whispered to his wife, "Wow, she's kinda rude. Not much of a people person." The rest of us sat frozen, torn between horror and the urge to laugh.